Hello everyone, I'm Rahul, the organizing member of HAC'KP 2025. Welcome back to another Power Pack session. Kerala Police is proud to host the 6th International Cybersecurity Hackathon, the HAC'KP 2025. This global community-driven initiative brings together cybersecurity professionals, developers, researchers, innovators, and law enforcement experts around the world. Our theme this year is Automating the Fight Against Online Harm. It is dedicated to creating smart, scalable solutions that help law enforcement prevent, detect, and respond to online child sexual exploitation and abuse. Here, the brightest minds from seasoned professionals to passionate newcomers come together, not just for prizes, but for the greater mission of building technologies that safeguard children and the most vulnerable members of our society. As we all know, children today spend more time online than ever, especially post COVID era, which helps in learning, socializing, and exploring themselves. Along with these opportunities comes risk like cyberbullying, exploitation, and other online crimes. Hence, protecting children in this fast changing digital world has become a shared responsibility for families, educators, policymakers, and law enforcement agencies. That's why today, in this webinar on child online protection in India, is so important to understand the challenges and share global best practices. We are truly privileged, ladies and gentlemen, to have Ms. Smita Mitra, the Managing Director of LifeFutureSkills. With over 2 decades of experience in child protection and women, peace and security and online crime prevention, she has served in the United Nations as the Interpol's intelligence specialist on crimes against children. Through Life Future Skills, she continues to empower global law enforcement agencies to safeguard children online. Let's give a warm welcome to Ms. Smita Mitra as she shares her valuable insights with us today. Hi, Smita.
Thank you so much for having me, and thank you for this opportunity. And I would like to congratulate all of you who have registered and are taking part in this hackathon. I wish you all the very best. Let me take you through a deck of slides which will give you an insight into the child online protection landscape in India. Please let me know if you are able to see the slides. Sure, thank you so much. I think I'm getting the messages in the chat. I will take you through this deck. Uh, what does the child online protection look like in India? This will be a very significant backdrop for you when you are coding as programmers and as developers. I know Rahul has done a fantastic job of introducing me. This is who I am. I have been working for the past 22 years, partly in United Nations and more recently in Interpol. Interpol's Crimes Against Children unit, based out of Singapore and working particularly in Asia. That brings me to this collaboration which Life Future Skills is having with KinderTech. KinderTech is a leader in global solutions provider where we help, and therefore KinderTech and Life Future Skills is joining forces to bring this tech talk to you so that we can give you an overview of what is the situation, and you as program developers can work towards coding the absolutely important and crucial programs so that our law enforcement colleagues are able to fight the good fight, to identify the victims, to protect the vulnerable population, particularly online. While we talk about child online protection, please let us understand what is the landscape like. If we situate the problem centrally, as you can see in the slide, Child sexual exploitation has different facets and different stakeholders who are involved in the process. You would see a law enforcement and offender management system. There is a sex offender or a trafficker. In today's day and age, it can be online. Most of human trafficking, which used to happen offline, has now moved online. Especially during the COVID times, we have witnessed this again and again, that online child sexual exploitation has increased manifold. You do have electronic service providers, because here is a platform where some of it gets posted and therefore it gets repeated. I would like to draw your attention to the bottommost stakeholder, which is LEA, which is Law Enforcement Agency Monitoring and Patrolling. Here, you as coders and program developers play a very significant role. We will get into the details of that, but you have a very important role to pivot the kind of cyber patrolling the law enforcement colleagues and the investigators are doing through your programming and through your coding skill set. Of course, we do have the parents, the caregivers, the family. Often it is the caregivers or the family from the circle of trust of the child who is facilitating such online child sexual exploitation and abuse. So one needs to be extremely careful about the kind of exposure that you are providing to the child. And of course, there is the larger ecosystem of the social and educational service providers. I want us to remember that in the social and educational service provider, we have a huge role to play by introducing prevention in the school curriculums through online safeguarding and digital well being. Moving forward, when you look at this slide, I would like to draw your attention to the number of reports which has gone in from India, as indicating India to be the source where this has been produced as cyber tip line reports. You can see in your screen the numbers are 840,000, but this is just 2024 Jan to June. What you see here is high numbers. We do know that there are specialized units at the center and also at the state level. There are cyber cells in the state level. There is supposed to be an industry cooperation where the electronic service providers report and share evidence with the law enforcement. But do write to me, which electronic service provider do you think has the highest number of cases, reported cases in India? I will wait for a moment to hear from you in the chat boxes. If you are joining in live, please feel free to write which electronic service. Okay, very good. I want more. Lovely. Okay, sure. Yeah. So it is Instagram, and then followed by Facebook, followed by WhatsApp, and then you have Snapchat and Google. So most of you have guessed it very well. Looking at the numbers of the internet service providers, look at the figure on this screen, which tells you the highest penetration rate in India, which is there, and which is the internet service provider that has reported the highest cases in India. Of course, it is Jio, very closely followed by Airtel, then Vodafone. This tells you that not just the electronic service provider, but also the internet service providers have a huge role to play when detecting online child sexual exploitation and abuse, when supporting the law enforcement through evidence, through cyber patrolling. How can all these stakeholders come together to help to detect and to investigate online crimes against children? Keeping this in mind, what do you think should be the factors that you should consider as programmers and as developers that you can help the law enforcement deal with this huge volume? You saw the volume that was there from January to June, 840,000 reports from India. So while you are there as coders participating in this hackathon, what unique factor can you plug in order to support the law enforcement to do cyber patrolling proactively, to identify if there is something happening, to help them investigate, do the investigation quickly, efficiently, so that there is no duplication, and also international law enforcement cooperation, how important it is. I would give you a moment to hear from you. What is it that you have in your mind and how you can support the law enforcement? I want the responses in the chat. Let's hear from you. What is it that you can do as coders, as program developers? Thank you. More? I will wait. Thank you, Binoy. Nice to see you here. Moving further, let me bring you to the next slide, which gives you some broad factors. All the answers that you are typing in or maybe contemplating in your mind, there are no wrong answers to this. That is the best part. When you look at the diversity of India, you see there are so many states, so many union territories. India is a diverse country. The social, the cultural, the demographic, the legislation which is there on POXO, the Online Child Sexual Exploitation Prevention Act, what is the kind of law enforcement structure which is there at the national level and at the state level. It is very important for us to have a broad stroke overview of what is this situation and how is it being handled right now in India, recognizing the capacity of the law enforcement and you as developers, and how can technology further enable or enhance their capability. But before we dig deeper into each of those factors, I want you to understand this slide, and please feel free to take a screenshot if you are interested. Look, the source of how a child online sexual exploitation gets reported can be proactive monitoring. So you see the orange arrows actually denote that you as programmers and tool developers have a crucial role to play in the orange part. So it's almost you are the cyber guardians and playing a parallel role with the law enforcement community. You have to have the proactive monitoring of spaces. Sometimes it is reported by the victims, sometimes the proactive monitoring by colleagues from different law enforcement agencies help us understand what is going on in these spaces. There is first information report which gets registered in police stations. Sometimes it is the social workers, for example, an Anganwadi worker or a field worker or a school teacher might bring this to your notice. Moving forward, the police cell or the exact cyber cell keeps investigation, keeps doing their evidence building, tries to build up a case as to what has happened, what is the evidence that is available in the community, in the school, with the children's care providers, with the children's family, what is it that is going on. But you still have an important role to play. While you are developing, you are providing the law enforcement with the tool that they can use so that they have to view less and they can identify the victim quicker. All of this leads to building up a strong evidence and a case which can lead to the conviction. So you are doing a hand in hand support to the law enforcement through the programming that you will be coding. We do see that a lot of cases reach their conviction. Some of the cases are reported in the media, but what gets reported is just the tip of the iceberg. And I can say this because we have worked very closely as an international law enforcement development cooperation organization as Interpol, making the world a safer place, very closely with not just Kerala Police, but also the Central Bureau of Investigation in India. There is coordination which is required. There is coordination between the national level as well as the state level, which is required. All of this together leads to fixing the jigsaw puzzle. Give me a response. Try to think which state would have had the highest conviction in 2018 for the POCSO. Any wild guess? Is it Uttar Pradesh? Is it Bihar? Is it Chandigarh? Which could have been? Look, this is as per a report which was shared by the Kailash Satyarthi Children's Foundation, which was released in 2021, but the data that was collected was of 2018, which says it is Chandigarh and it is Manipur. These are the union territory and the state which reported 100% conviction rate of the reported cases. But mind you, I did tell you what gets reported is just the tip of the iceberg. This is available online. I can share a copy of this with the organizers. Please feel free to access it. Now let's dive deeper into the other factors which we were pointing towards. While there is socio-cultural factors, there is also diversity of leadership. What kind of leader do you have at the helm of affairs in the national level and at the center level? At the state level, in the cyber cell level, what is the kind of resources and infrastructure that is there? What you see in the police station pictures that I have deliberately chosen is a very minimalistic standard police station, either in Jaipur or in Gangapur. What is there in Kerala as a Cyberdome may not be available in the other states, but we have to strive towards getting those resources and the infrastructure so that our investigators can work towards identifying the victims and not just leveling it up in terms of infrastructure, but also providing training to the investigators so that they can do their work efficiently as well as quicker. We know that India has a lot of tourist hotspots where we don't just attract national, but we also attract international tourists, whether it is the religious congregation in Banaras or Kumbh, whether it is tourist hotspots like Kerala, God's own country, or Goa. But having said that, there is high density of population. The pilgrimage destinations like Varanasi and the Kumbh Mela in Prayag, I already mentioned. The high density of population, easy access to ports, creates an absolutely perfect storm for organized crime syndicates who don't just operate offline but have now started operating online as well. So, by organized crime syndicate, I am indicating towards not just human trafficking or online child sexual exploitation, but also trafficking in counterfeit goods, substance abuse, so it is a conglomerate of different kinds of crimes which are emerging, but yet there is an organized syndicate which operates in this space. So if the criminals can get organized, we also need to set our house in order and have a very strategic, organized approach towards finding them out, where they are based, what are they doing. Our legislation gives us that tool of how to work within the criminal justice system. Protection of Children from Sexual Offences Act, which is the POCSO, which came into force in 2012. We further had the Criminal Law Amendment Act in 2018. There are fast track special courts which were established in 2019. And of course, you have the Bharatiya Nyaya Sanhita, which is as early as 2023. When we look at the law enforcement structure, you have a Central Bureau of Investigation, which is based in Delhi. It has a specialized crime branch on online child sexual exploitation and abuse. And the most beneficial part, which should be utilized utmost to the advantage of all cyber state cells, is the fact that this specialized unit in New Delhi at the central level is connected to the international database of Interpol, which is called Interpol's International Child Sexual Exploitation Database. So, anywhere that you detect any kind of child sexual abuse gets there, and you can quickly deconflict by giving a quick ring to your colleagues who are sitting there in CBI. So, that is a very, very important plus point which should be augmented to our best use. Then you have the technology capabilities, which is very diverse and it moves from state to state. Some states are doing very well. They do have the infrastructure, they do have the skill set of the investigators, but some do not. Here is where you come in as coders and you can help develop a program which can bridge this gap. The infrastructure to the crime and the police ratio is also very important, because we have seen the volume which is there and which gets reported in the cyber tip line reports. We are not sure if all of these cases get actioned, or the case load in itself is very high for the investigators. I will give it a minute and pause here. What role do you think you can play by participating in this hackathon? Let me know in the chats. What is it that you can do as coders while you are participating in this hackathon to fortify the investigative skills of our law enforcement colleagues? Thanks, Rajiv. Can I have some more? Thanks, Dushika. Thank you, Peter. Great, lovely. Thanks, Bree. Thank you, Anand. I'll revert back to you with this with the answer to this. With that, I would like to conclude. Thank you so much for participating. I wish all the participants very best of luck because remember, you are joining the good fight, and the kind of effort that you are taking is just going to help multiply the investigative efforts of all our colleagues in law enforcement. Thank you so much for joining in. Thanks a lot for this opportunity. Over to you, Rahul.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Smita, for that insightful and inspiring session. I think we all can agree to, it has provided us with a very fresh perspective on both the challenges and opportunities in strengthening child online protection in India and how we can collectively work towards creating a safer and digital environment for our children. And yes, to everyone who has joined us today, thank you. Thank you so much for your time and for your engagement and your commitment to this important mission. To conclude, as part of the HAC'KP 2025 Tech Series, we are excited to share that the hackathon is now live and progressing towards the grand finale from 1st to 4th of October at Taj Vivanta in Cochin, Kerala. While registrations are now closed, we invite you to stay tuned, follow our journey, and support the incredible innovations being developed for online world safer for children everywhere. On behalf of Kerala Police Cyberdome, we wish you all the very best, whether you're competing, collaborating, or here to learn and share. Stay curious and stay inspired, and together, let's keep pushing the boundaries of what's possible. Thank you. Thank you once again, and see you all in our next Tech Talk. Bye bye.